Hi, in this video we're going to take a look at using Postman for API documentation. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on why documentation is important. If you've ever used an API or built an API, you know that communicating to team members, other developers, or even your future self is super important. I'm going to be using the Postman standalone app for Mac OS X. I'm on version 6. Make sure you have a Postman account and you're logged in. Let's get started. In this example, I already have a collection that contains 2 requests, along with an environment that stores my secrets and other environment variables. My job is to communicate to other people how to use these endpoints. For you, you might want to document your whole API or a subset of endpoints, or even a very specific workflow like a quick start. In this example, let's look at a request. I can edit the name and description. If I click edit, I can use text or use Markdown to make it pretty. Below that, I can add a description for any parameter, or in this case, the form data format for a body. I can do this anywhere that I'm using the key value editor. Next to the collection name, click the ellipsis, select edit, and now you can see more details. This is a good spot to introduce others to the collection and show them how to get started. I've written this all in Markdown. Here's a Markdown table outlining the required variables. I've embedded a screenshot so people can see where to get their credentials in the Twilio console if they're not familiar with that. So in the Postman app, you can add descriptions for collections, folders if you're grouping your requests into folders, requests, and parameters. One other thing to point out is examples. Once you have a request working as it should, you can save a response as an example so you can show others what that looks like. You can also create a sample response from scratch if you don't have a working endpoint yet. All of this is very helpful for when you're in the Postman app. Let's see what it looks like on the web. Next to the collection name, click the chevron to expand the collection details. Click View in Web. You'll notice that we're now in a web browser. All of the stuff that we just walked through in the Postman app is viewable on the web. Ours is just a simple example, but if I want to see how to send an SMS using Twilio, I click on the request. I see the verb, URL, the Markdown description, the body and parameter descriptions. On the right side, you can see the code for the requests and sample responses from our saved examples. This is in curl, but if I go to the top, I can update my preferred language, and then copy and paste the code sample into my own app. This is a private view of our documentation. Only you can see it or people that are on your team if you're subscribed to one of the team plans. What if you want the documentation to be available publicly? Go ahead and click Publish. If you'd like, you can select an environment. For this step, make sure you don't share any of your secrets. What I like to do is to duplicate my environment and then put in placeholders for sensitive values, like your API key. When you do that, Postman will substitute the values, and then it makes sense when people are reading through your documentation. If you want to publish the documentation on your own domain, you can do that here. That just takes one more step for you to verify your domain. Under Custom Styling options, I can add my own theme. The logo can be updated in your profile settings. I can update these hex values with my personal colors, and then publish. Now it's available on the web for anyone to access. One of the best things about using Postman to publish your documentation is that any updates you make to the collection will be synced in real time to the public. You don't have to worry about being out of date. Let's take a look at an example. You can check it out on your own if you'd like. I'm going to go to developer.travefy.com. They use Postman to generate their documentation. They have a pretty image and some folders, and you can see all of their endpoints right here. If you go back to the top, one of the most important things that we haven't even talked about yet is the Run in Postman button. You might have seen this button already in blog posts or on dev portals. When you use Postman to generate your documentation, this button is created automatically. Go ahead and click the Run in Postman button. I already have Postman installed on my machine, so I'm going to click Postman for Mac. This is going to download the collection and environment, if they have one, into my instance of Postman. They've done the heavy lifting by documenting all their endpoints, and I can start playing around with their API right away. So easy. And that's it. We talked about writing descriptions. You can add descriptions to a collection, folder, request, or parameter. You can add examples either by saving a response or creating one from scratch. You can use your documentation privately or publish it. Save it to your own custom domain with your own theme, and then developers can generate code samples or use the Run in Postman button to download the collection to their local instance of Postman. If you have some sweet examples of API documentation using Postman, link them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, check out some of our others.